Buckle up. You are listening to Musicians and Beyond with John Sarabian and Mark Lawhorn, and we're going to bring you the backstage info on the life, lyrics, and long journeys of the music industry. Mark, how are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you very much.
That's good. Everyone's good. Your family's good?
Could not be better. My daughter scored her first varsity goal this week, so
wonderful.
Pretty big week for us.
I saw that on Facebook. The celebrations just never ended.
That's true. And how about you? How's the family? Everyone
is wonderful. Thank
Excellent.
you. Everyone
Good.
is wonderful.
And how's the hand?
The hand is coming. It's coming. Coming slow, but you know. So last week we had Jennifer Alvarado on.
That is correct.
From North Carolina.
North Carolina. Soon, hopefully, to be from Nashville.
Yeah.
Wonderful little artist, young lady, making her way down there, just about to make her way to Nashville. If she can convince her husband to make that move, that's going to be a big one for her.
Yeah.
But it'll be good for her career. She's done well, making good music, and I hope for the best for her.
Yeah, I think we're going to hear a lot more from her in the future.
Agreed.
And speaking about hearing more from someone in the future, today's guest was recommended to us by Francois Simard, and we thank him.
Can't thank him enough.
And he couldn't talk enough about this.
Well, when you have someone that's won Seabrook Idol and has impressed Francois the way she has, you talk about a lot of good things coming her way.
Absolutely.
This is one to watch.
It is. It is. And now she's made it to the top of the food chain. She's on Musicians and Beyond with Lawhorn and Sarabian. Doesn't get any bigger than that. Let's welcome Yamica Peterson. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
This is fantastic. You've been doing a lot out in the music world lately.
I have. It's been a long time coming, but lately, the past few months, maybe even a year, have just been really kind of going in my direction. So I smile in ear to ear.
That's great. And you're mostly out there, are you alone or with a band? I know you do play with your dad.
I do play with my dad. We go out as family affair when we're playing, but I have a regular duo that we just call it the Yamica Peterson duo, but I play a lot with Nate Comp. He's a phenom and just a superhuman being. But I also have my band, my baby, that I'm super proud of, and we're called Mika's Groove Train. The band's been around since 2010, but it has been in most recent years that it's really kind of begun to take off. So we've been afforded some very cool opportunities, and seems like those opportunities are still coming. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I was listening to a song earlier, and it was crazy good. And it took me back a few years. You're probably too young to know the old Beretta show, but Sammy Davis Jr. had the theme song to that. And if you haven't heard it, you should go back and listen to it, because that's where you brought me to. The rhythm of the song, the little... the beat to it, everything about it brought me back to that, and I thought about it right away. But take a look back. Sammy Davis Jr., I can't remember what his original song is. Keep Your Eye on the Sparrow. That's it.
Okay. But that's cool. I will.
And you would not know the Beretta reference at all. John might be too young for that as well.
I know Beretta. My God. So, Mika, you're from Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
Yep, I was born there.
Yeah, and you're not new to the music industry. Your family has quite a history in music.
Yeah, pretty long lineage.
Yeah, your grandmother, Jean Jones, she was known as the Lady of Song.
She was.
That's really cool. So did the locals name her that, or was that her own proclaimed?
Actually, the governor named her that when I was very young. She was pretty big in the jazz world, just like my Aunt Sharon is now. But she sounded very much like Billie Holiday. She embodied everything Billie, and you couldn't really tell the difference. She was amazing. I wish you could have met her. The Joneses were pretty prominent in their heyday, and she was right up there paving the way for me, basically.
Yeah, wow. And your great aunt Brown Sugar Jones is still out there ripping up the scene.
She is. She's cool. A pistol, that one. I tell her I want to be her when I grow up.
I can see why. So is that what inspired you to start your musical career, is looking at your family members and say, geez, I want to do that?
That's a hard question. I've been singing all my life. Like, my whole family in some way is musical. But from a stage standpoint, I really didn't start until I moved back home. I moved away for high school and got married, and then I moved back home early 2000s. But my dad had a pretty well-established band, and I used to go and see him all the time. And I mean, I could sing, so he would get me up there, and I was terrified. I would stand there like a deer in headlights, shaking like a leaf. And then I'm not really sure. I got to meet some people in the industry, and then it started feeling like home. And now I couldn't imagine like not doing it. I mean, my aunt's well up there in age. My dad is in his 70s as well, and if they're still doing it at that age, that means there's hope for me. But I've definitely evolved as a musician.
Wow, that's cool. And your first stage performance, you were only 3 years old.
Yes, it was in church.
It was in church?
Yep, I had a solo part.
You did? Do you remember what you sang?
I can remember the melody, but not so much the words.
Okay.
I was very, very young then. I'm much older than I look, so trying to reach back that far would be tough. But
So it all started at the age of 3.
Yeah, probably in the womb, to be quite honest. I mean, I tell people I grew up in 4-part harmony because I have 2 sisters, my mother and my sisters and I. We would all grab a part and just hang out in the kitchen, either making dinner or whatever it was. My aunts, when my mother was with my aunt, we'd all do the same thing with my grandmother. Even my grandfather sang. So when if we're all in a room, there's going to be some singing going on.
Wow, that's cool. Making memories and making melodies. It sounds like a good name for an album.
Yeah.
Making melodies and making memories.
And this is why he's on a podcast.
So, Mika, how do people find out about you and your band and where you're going to be and your social media?
Well, there's a couple places. The band website is mikasgroovetrain.com, just all smushed into one word. And then there's my personal website, which tells what I'm doing with my dad, with any duo, any trio. And that's Ms. like MS, YamicaPeterson.com. And it's the same for Facebook, facebook.com/Ms. Yamica Peterson or /Mika's Groove Train. We're on Instagram, but my kids laugh because I haven't quite mastered how to use Insta yet. So I have to call them for advice and then I get crap for it. So
don't we all?
That sounds like a familiar story. That sounds like a familiar story to me. I get yelled at every time I post something.
Thank God for the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't asked them in a while, but at least they do tell me. They give me, crap first, then they help me. So I haven't given up. I do have Instagram pages. I'm just not on there all the time.
They know everything, don't they?
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
Are your kids into music at all?
All of them, really. Some of them are far too shy to perform, but you can catch them. I can catch them at home and stop doing their thing. But my oldest daughter, she has been with me pretty regularly over the last year. Her name is Sierra, and she is the most amazing person to have standing beside me on stage because our harmonies are natural, and we've been singing together since she was born. Yeah. So it's a very, everything is always candid. It's never, worked out ahead of time. And we kind of do that on purpose because you never know what magic will happen. Could be the same song a different night and, 2 different performances you'll get, but it's always magic. So I'm really thankful for her. She's my joy.
Yeah. That's great that you can make memories with your daughter.
Yeah, so, I kind of get a little inkling as to how my dad might feel now.
Where do you fit in genre? Jazz, R&B? What is your genre that you like to consider yourself associated with?
I've been asked this question many times, and I'm sorry, but I don't have a firm, concrete answer. So it's kind of funky soul. If I had to put a tag to it, that's what I can think of because it's soulful, but I'm a sucker for a rhythm section, for a funky rhythm section. So I have to have that element too. I love everything. My dad constantly accuses me of wanting to sing every song ever made. It's not true, just most of them. So as far as my stuff goes, my favorite artists are my parents, so I don't really know how to answer.
That's awesome.
We're just who we are, and I would love for someone to say what they thought, because then I might agree, might disagree, but for now we'll just call it funky soul.
So you do sing with your father a lot. What is your favorite song to sing with him?
Oh gosh, either Cruising or Up on the Roof.
Oh wow,
because they just have killer harmony. So
awesome.
But I like singing anything with him. He's amazing.
So for our listeners, you are listening to Musicians and Beyond, and we have Mika Peterson on Zoom with us, and she's telling us about her life and music and what's up and coming. And I think this might be a good time to play one of her songs. We're going to play Heaven for You. And then we're going to have Yamica tell us about how she came up with the lyrics and the song idea for that. So, ladies and gentlemen, here is Yamica Peterson with Heaven for You.
The tears and the pain is severe, when the questions outnumber the answers, and we're all left to wonder what's happening here. Too soon a departure for you. Some of us can't figure out what to do, and in the meantime I'll look to heaven for you. If there's one thing I learned from being your friend, is that life may be short, but the music don't end. And if life is music and music is song, I will keep singing, I'm gonna keep keeping on. In the meantime, I'll look to heaven for you. I made this promise to you. I remember the things that you taught me to do. I'll keep writing music, I promise you that. I'll do my best to get out of B flat. But this one we started together. Now I'm on my own, so I'll finish alone. And in the meantime, I'll look to heaven for you. If there's one thing I learned from being your friend, is that life may be short, but the music don't end. And if a life is music and music is song, I will keep singing, I'll keep keeping on. And in the meantime, I'll look to heaven for you. That life may be short, but the music don't end. And if a life is a music and music is song, I will keep singing, I'll keep keeping on. In the meantime, I'll look to heaven for you. In the meantime, I'll look to heaven for you.
That was Yamica Peterson with Heaven for You. Yamica, could you tell us a little bit about that song?
Sure. That song was written after my initial bass player in Mika's Groove Train. His name is Chad Owen. He passed away in 2013. But before he passed away, I had the opportunity to become extremely close with him. He was very much like a big brother. And he has a lot to do with where I am, who I am musically today. He was my biggest fan, my biggest supporter, my teacher, my mentor. He made it okay for me to not necessarily, because I'm not classically trained or even formally trained. I'm a street kid. I grew up music in my household. That's where my musical education came from. It never came from a book or anything like that. And he just I was always bothered by that and felt I wasn't, I couldn't really be on another person's level because of that. But he made me understand that was not the case, and that I there was something there. So we would end up writing together, and just more than best friends. We were absolutely family. And when he passed, just something kind of broke. My heart broke, among other things, along with a lot of other people. Chad was amazing, and there wasn't one person that came across him that wasn't touched by him. So his loss was great. And, when you're a songwriter and you're lamenting, the best recourse is to write a song. And I wrote that as I was just feeling awfully low, and I mulling over thoughts in my head, but I could hear him laughing at those thoughts I was having, because he was a total prankster, absolutely sentimental, but you really have to be, on a certain page to get that. Mostly you're going to get jokes and humor. But I could hear him picking on me and laughing. And I just ended up, I remember I was sitting looking out the window at my piano, and I ended up smiling, and I just kind of took that deep breath and pressed on the keys and went with the first chord I hit. And that's how that song was born. The words are obviously very personal for me, but when it was completed, I realized that, wow, there's probably lots of people who can relate to this, because we all know loss. But for me, that was my way of healing, and it took years in the making to even do that. But he would laugh. He would totally laugh at that song.
Yeah, well, listening to the song, you can tell it's really heartfelt, in that there was a good story, deep story behind it, and we appreciate you sharing that with us, because I think our listeners, are real curious how a song is written.
Especially when it sounds so emotional and it brings out, when people can relate to it, you've done something not just for yourself, but for others. And when people...
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I imagine that's why songwriters do that. It's not just about the inner effect. It's about what the audience is going to take from it. And if you can bring that same emotion or bring out that same emotion from someone, you've done your job.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I didn't, at the time when I was writing it, I wasn't thinking like, I hope people will like this. And when I was done with it and the finished product came out, and, as people listened to it, I was really kind of humbled, and I'm constantly touched by how deeply someone can be affected, by my music, because I'm affected all the time by others, by others' songs or poems or what have you. And I don't think I haven't gave it a thought at the time that that could happen the other way. So it's just really humbling and emotional. It's always emotional. Like, I'm tearing up now just thinking about it. That my loss could actually, what came of my loss ends up being a comfort to someone else who experienced the same thing. Then that can't be wrong.
Can't be wrong at all.
Right. What a feeling that must be, to be able to put something down on paper and into notes, and have someone sitting in the crowd being so affected.
It's pretty amazing.
It really
pretty
is.
Amazing. Cool. I wasn't sure I would let anyone hear it. It took me, I don't know, years to be able to sing it without crying. So
I'm sure.
Yeah. It sat tucked away for a while, but I could hear him just basically chastising me about that too. So it's like, you know what? I need to just get off my soapbox and do what I'm supposed to be doing. So
I love it.
I think he's smiling now.
And besides your voice, you play the piano. What other instruments do you partake in?
Use the piano. I wouldn't say, excuse me.
I don't know. I've heard it. It sounds pretty damn good.
I use it as a writing tool. You use it well.
Thank you. So I don't know how to play that either. I just fool around until I find the right note. But, I play by ear, so I can sit down and figure something out relatively, but it's not my first love. Like, I love to sing. And I like to sing with others, because those harmonies are everything, where it's at, and I don't like to play alone, because what fun is that?
Right.
I like energy. I feed off of the person I'm playing with, because that's when magic occurs. If you have chemistry, good things happen.
So who is playing with you in your band? Who do you have out there with you when you're playing a gig?
I have a monster drummer. what he lacks for in height, he makes up for it in just pure rhythmic power. His name is Joey Rizzo. And my guitarist, his name is Paul Lassard. And man, when he plays, I mean, the world just stops. Everybody just stops. You have to, because he's just fantastic. Then there's my daughter who sings along with me. And my bass player, I'm getting a big old, you know what, eating grin right now, because he is just a beast. His name is Stacy Bug. And he plays that thing. There's smoke coming out of it when he's done. Just they're all amazing. And I am so fortunate. I consider myself one of the luckiest vocalists in this whole area, probably all of New England, because I get to play with such stellar musicians, and they're stellar human beings too. So I get a double dose of good fortune there with those cats.
Excellent. Well, you said it. You get to play with those guys. Where are you playing right now? What do you have coming up for gigs?
So this week is lean because I'm going on a cruise with my mama, so I don't have a lot going on. But this Saturday, Nate Comp, guitar virtuoso, will be playing at Exo Bistro in Manchester from 6 to 9. And then when I get back, the band will be at the Strand in Dover on February 17th.
Okay.
So that'll be a good one. Nice space for dancing, great sound system. But anyone can always jump on the website to see where I'll be. I'm literally here, there, and everywhere. The band will be at the Marblehead Festival of Arts this summer, so I'm very excited about that. That's a big one. That'll be July 4th.
Excellent. Not too far from us.
And all kinds. Yeah. So it's going to be a good time. Very much looking forward to this whole year.
Good.
Where do you see yourself as a musician? Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I know where I'd like to be. I'm not sure where, because I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a girl, I got all things going on all the time. But in 5 years, I would very much like to, hopefully have found a label by then and have had the opportunity, because nowadays, everything takes money. And I work a day gig, I work 40 hours a week, 45 plus hours a week as well as the music. So finding time tends to be hard. You've got to make time for the family as well as all the extracurricular stuff. But in 5 years, I would like to hopefully be signed and be playing. I'd like to see what Europe looks like.
Yeah. It's a long road being an indie artist and out there independent, trying to fund everything yourselves and make everything happen. 5 years that you got to get that signature put on the dotted line and make that happen. Good for you.
Yep. And you know what? If it doesn't, I can honestly say I am super content with my life and how things have gone. If I never make it there, I'll still be okay because I have gotten to have the most fun I've ever had on stage. So I can't complain.
Well, listen, it's a mark out there to go after, right? It's a goal to go after. And if you can get it, if you achieve it, great. And if you're happy without that, making that goal come true, then you're up on stage making music, singing with your daughter.
Yeah,
I think you've already got your dreams already.
Yeah, I was going to say I've already won. I mean, that would just be a super bonus.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to put that album out that's long overdue because I've got a bunch of tunes that are just sitting there collecting dust. But like I said, the tables have turned over this last year or two, and I think that goal, that dream, is really not that far off of a possibility.
Great. Good. Now you also said that you have a bunch of songs sitting there. You write a lot of your own songs. What's your writing process like, and are you writing with somebody else?
It's usually chaos. It's usually pure chaos. No, I'm kidding. I don't write with anybody right now. I used to write with Chad and my dad, but it's been a while. So now I guess my process is I'm a very emotional person. Like I wear my heart on my sleeve. Very easy to tell what mood I'm in. And I go by mood. So if I'm sitting there just messing around, practicing, and usually it's pretty consistent. I'll mess up, I'll make a mistake, but it sounds really pretty. So I'll run with it. And then whatever that chord that I've struck, if it's dark, then that's where my mind goes. If it's bright, that's where my mind goes. If it sparks a memory of one of my children, that's where my mind goes. So I just kind of go with whatever emotion that those first few notes have caused me to feel, and I build on that. The lyrics generally come and they are directly tied to that feeling. Like I have a song called Sunday Afternoon, and I was thinking about the living room being an absolute mess because all the kids were in there, and that's in the song.
Yeah.
So I just build on how those thoughts that are rolling around in the beginning. And I'm, a bit of a word nerd and a poet, so I can, kind of, that part's the easy part for me. It's the bridges and all the chords, and then trying to tell someone else what I mean. That's the hardest part.
Right. So you basically do start with the music in all of your songs and then kind of go with it.
Usually,
So
it could be anything from a bass line to a drum pattern. My ears will, ping, and whatever emotion I get from that, there's either a song there or there isn't, or there's a beginning, or making of something. I've got a lot of unfinished things too, just because, I have to go wherever the inspiration is. And if I'm not feeling it, then I set it aside, because you can't force it.
Right.
I can't force it anyway.
And what other notable artists have molded you into the musician that you are?
I have a huge soft spot for India Ari and Erykah Badu. They are two of my favorite women musicians just ever. And like I said, my parents, I draw a lot from my mother and my father. They're really responsible for the molding. And my dad is responsible for everything I am, like from then till now, because he taught me, how to do this. This isn't always an easy business. And there are definitely pros and cons to everything, but he taught me how to get over the cons, or how to work through the cons or around them. And that to me is way more valuable than anybody telling me what to do with the positive stuff, because anybody can figure that out. It's what you do when it's not really favorable situations. But he gave me that tool to keep my head held high, not be run over, those types of things. And those are invaluable to me. So I got to give the old man the credit for that.
No, that's great. One of the questions sometimes John or I, and I'll ask, a guest, what are the lessons that you've learned that you could pass on to another aspiring artist? And I think that right there, your dad's advice to you, sounds like something you'd pass on to somebody else, and it served you well.
And the biggest thing he taught me was to work for it. When I started, I wasn't brought on as a full member. I got paid background singer salary, and it was the bass player that said, if you don't hire her on full time, I'm going to go start a band with her, which we did anyway. But I was a running joke. But yeah, I didn't just get it handed to me. I had to work for it, and I had to I don't know if prove myself is the right word, but for lack of a better one right now, like, he made me know that just because my last name is what it is, or my aunt is who she is, or my grandmother is who she was, I still have to work for it. So that would definitely be my advice for anyone budding or up and coming, is pound the pavement. I spent many years pounding pavements, knocking on doors. I did get to do a little name dropping just because I had that opportunity, but it didn't always work. And I was baffled by that in the beginning, but those words from my dad just kind of came back, like, you have to work for it. So it's, unless you're born to like Hollywood parents or these megastars, you got to work for it.
Yeah,
so
nice.
And don't stop, because if you stop, then you become irrelevant, so to speak. You have to stay relevant. You have to stay in people's minds in the forefront, and you have to figure out which ways are best for you to do that. But that's so important. Don't let your candle flame go out. You have to keep it.
Yeah. When was the last time you were in the studio?
I just got to do a background set for TJ Wheeler, so it was just maybe a month or two ago. And then before that, I was with Dave Gerard from Truffle. But the last time I was in the studio for myself has been, I don't even want to tell you, it's been way too long. But,
Well,
cash moves everything. So once you get that part settled.
Time to get back in the studio, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, and I'll get there. I feel like if there's something I'm meant to do, I will do it. It will happen. I'm a very, very firm believer in if it's meant to be, it will be. So.
Well, let me ask you, where were you when you were out in Tucson?
Where?
And what brought you back? I mean, when you were out in Arizona, and what brought you back?
So I was in the Tucson area. Yeah. My mom was there. She still is. And she had had a medical situation that she needed help. So I packed up the kids, packed up the kids in a 5x8 trailer. My husband and I, we threw all our stuff that we could fit in there in a minivan, drove 4 days to Tucson. And then we eventually found a house and lived there for about 2 years. And while I was there, I made some really awesome friends that welcomed me into their musical community. So I still got to do what I loved, and with different people, which was even more exciting because it was a fresh take on things, a new experience. I even was forced to sing Billie Jean, which I didn't think would ever happen in my life, but I did it.
It's what I was going to add, really where I wanted to go with the question was, what was the difference out there from a music scene as compared to out here? What was what did you have to get used to that was so different?
I think the biggest thing that sticks out in my mind is, I'm from New England, where we're either shore towns, but very community based. Out there, it's massive. I mean, I don't know if you've been to Tucson, but geographically, it's humongous. So it can be kind of cliquish. Yeah. And if you're not in with the clique or you don't know, it's kind of hard. It's a hard scene to break into. But I have to say or back that up by saying that didn't end up that way for me, because from the onset of a band that we went to go see, my husband, I went to get a drink or something, and by the time I got back, my husband was talking to the bass player, who was the lead singer also, and they were calling me up to go sing. And then the rest is history. We were best friends after that, and henceforth. But I did notice before I met them, I think people were worried because jobs were hard to come by in this industry. Work can be hard to come by. So you have to hold on to it because it's precious to you. So that was took some getting used to. Because out here, if somebody calls me up and says, "Hey, how can I get into this place?" I'll be like, "Call that guy." Yeah. It's not like that in other places, and I learned that, and that's okay. It is what it is. You still have to work for it no matter where you are.
Yeah, and so I did spend some time in Davis-Monthan, the Air Force Base out there. So I love the area.
Yeah. I went to the airplane graveyard out there. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Pretty wild, isn't it?
Yeah.
Unless you see...
My kid brother's a pilot. So.
Oh, no kidding. Oh.
Yep.
Well, then he must enjoy that type of an environment, because unless you actually walk that and see the size of the graveyard, people can't even understand.
Yeah. You can't fathom it. You have to see it. And it's I was awestruck.
Yeah,
I mean,
same.
It's pretty cool.
And so did you miss the seasonal change of home while you were out there?
Oh, so much. I mean, after the first 6 months, it was amazing. Yeah. No snow. You didn't even have to think about shoveling. No, chains on your tires, none of that. But after about 6 months, we realized seafarers don't belong in the desert.
I'm with you.
And you start missing things like grass and trees and cats. You don't even see cats because the coyotes eat them. Yeah. Oh, God. So there's no stray cats. And then, it was bizarre to me to see a whole track team running drills in 110 degrees. I'm like, this is child abuse. But it's not, because they're all used to that. And that's how they roll. But yeah, I learned what dry heat means.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
it's a thing.
It really is.
It's a thing.
But that was the biggest thing I missed, was the seasonal changes and being able to enjoy that. So,
I mean, who gets mad? It's like, where's the clouds? Like, I should be happy there's no clouds. When I walk outside to the 8th day of no clouds, I'm like, this is ridiculous.
I think after a year out there, I would be singing if I was a songwriter, I'd write the saddest songs. That's how I'd be.
I ended up being where I wrote Heaven for You, funny enough. But
that's funny.
So, Mika, you have a huge catalog. Do you have one favorite song that you have written in your catalog? I know they were all really good because I've listened to a handful of them. But is there one that just jumps out at you?
One of my own tunes?
Yes.
It's probably the saddest one of all, which is, it's called Go If You Want To.
Okay.
And it's basically self-explanatory, but it's basically a person who's in a relationship that's not panning out, and she finally just decides, hey, if you want to go if you want to. And that's the gist of that. It's very self-explanatory if you listen to it. You can tell the mood I was in when I wrote it.
glad you can laugh about it now.
Yeah. So I either write personal experiences, or I will write. I've written about things that I have firsthand witnessed, by either a family member or a friend. So I've got a couple out there that aren't really about me. I just put into words and feelings my interpretation of what I saw happen. So they're not always like extremely personal to me. I do have some connection. Either I knew the person that I'm singing about, or it was me, or, very close to whatever the situation was. But they're generally never like true fabrications or fiction. There's always an element of truth in every song.
It's funny you say that. We had a guest on last week, Matt O'Coin, out of Houston, Texas, and Matt wrote a song, and I watched the video, and it was very emotional and very heartfelt about a son wishing his father was still here. And Matt felt like he didn't want to put that song on an album because he didn't have an emotional connection to it. It's just a song that came about. And many people called after they heard him sing the song and said, "Oh, geez, what happened to your dad?" And he's like, "My dad's fine." And so he was really conflicted. So you don't think about that, or when you listen to a song, you think that every album or every song has a connection to someone's, that writer or that singer's personal experience. Not always the case.
No, for sure.
And what we were talking about before, how that a song can evoke certain emotions. He finally went with it because many people said, "Well, listen, it sounds like my story. It sounds like what happened with my dad, or his dad had wished he had that with his father who passed away when he was young." So he didn't think he had an emotional connection until everyone around him started talking about it. So it's interesting how that can happen.
Yep. And then you realize, wow, you do have, some sort of 6th degree of separation, but it's there. That's I think music is a fabric that weaves us all together, no matter where we're from. What our backgrounds are, there is commonality, within music.
Excellent. Is there anything else that you want to enlighten us on?
Did I tell you I have 5 kids?
Let's hear about it. You got 5 kids?
How old are they?
I do. So my oldest is Sierra, who sings with me. She's 27. I have twins, a boy and a girl, and they will be 21 this year.
Wow.
And I have a daughter who will be 18 and a daughter who will be 16 on Monday.
Wow. Happy birthday to her. Sounds like you have your hands full over there at the Peterson house.
Regular Brady Bunch.
Yeah, I guess so.
Except we have 2 bathrooms.
So when you're singing, are they all singing with you at some point at home? And is there a chance we'll see them on stage, all of them on stage with you at some point in life?
I highly doubt it, but that would be a mama's dream come true. 3 of them have terrible stage fright.
No kidding.
There are 2 that I can talk into going up there with me. They're all talented. I have artists. I have, kids who draw, kids who build, kids who can build a computer. Like I can't do any of that stuff, but they all each have their pocket in this world, and I'm really pumped to see what they do with it.
That's great.
And if they never get on stage, as long as they live out their dreams, I'll be content with that.
Now, is the husband toting around the piano or the keyboards for you, or is he making you do that yourself?
He lifts the heavy stuff.
Does he?
He's the garter of the body. He's the lifter of the heavy things. He's the knob turner to make sure that we all sound good and we're not squealing away.
We all have our role to play.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So he's great, though.
Good.
Fantastic. Again, Mika, could you just tell our listeners how they can find you?
Sure. You can hop on mikasgroovetrain.com or MsYamicaPeterson.com, and same way on Facebook. And you can find both of those on Instagram as well. Might be a little outdated, but I am there.
Excellent.
Websites, there are phone numbers for booking and things of that nature.
Excellent. So there's a good question. What's the farthest you'll go for a booking? Where is the furthest distance you'll play?
We'll play anywhere. I mean, as long as at least the gas is covered and the compensation's decent. Yeah. Me, I'll go to the Maldives. Like I don't some of my older bandmates might disagree with me, but for right now, I'd say our radius is Marblehead to York, Maine.
Okay, good.
Marblehead, Mass to York, Maine.
Yeah.
We get around. We've been afforded some opportunities to go a little far from home. Get up to the mountains, down to the seacoast. So it's pretty spread out, and I kind of like it because we're never in the same place for very long. So we get to see a little bit of the seacoast. It's It's a big seacoast.
When was the last time you played around the Boston area?
In Boston, I've not gotten to play in Boston.
Well,
It's a hard market to break into. It's
we're
funny.
going to have to make that happen.
Yeah, that would be great. I have a story about that. We can talk about it off camera.
We can do that.
I look forward to it.
But yeah. So if anybody in Boston's out there, yeah, I'd love to go play there.
Yeah, they definitely won't be disappointed.
Absolutely not.
No, you've got a lot of talents. And we're speaking with Yamica Peterson, and you are listening to Musicians and Beyond. And we want you to go follow us, follow her, download some of her music, support her and her endeavors in the music industry. And
you'll find all the locations to locate Mika on our @Musicians and Beyond on any one of our social media platforms. Follow us, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you follow Mika, and make sure you find her in one of the locations she will be playing in the next few months. Get out there and see her.
We'll send them out there. Mika, we want to thank you again for taking your time and chatting with us and telling us all those cool stories that you got going on.
Well, thanks so much for having me. This is really cool. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, we really enjoyed it, and we want to thank you for being our friend.
Sure. Big shout out to Frank Simon, my crazy Frenchman.
Yeah, that he is.
Oui, oui.